Hello, I'm Dr. Judy, and today it is my pleasure to introduce Lenore. We are at the Ohio State Fair at the quilting area. I hope she's going to be a very interesting speaker. I know I've enjoyed her already. Lenore, how about a little history on quilting?
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Judy. I'm always happy to talk to people about quilts. We enjoy a lot of our quilts today, but there's a rich history that a lot of people may enjoy knowing. Quilts originally started out as objects of convenience. They were very utilitarian. Early quilters made them with whatever resources they had. They could have been old clothes or feed sacks, and they were made to be used to keep people warm. Eventually, resources became a little more plentiful, and we started to see quilters being creative. We saw beautiful patterns evolve, and quilts became a little more artistic, but they continue to be very utilitarian. We see a lot of beautiful quilts today that are reminiscent of the older patterns. One thing we should look at when we see these older quilts is really appreciate the workmanship in them. If you look at them, the stitches are very tiny, they're very even, and that continues to be a mark of high quality hand quilting today. Another thing we should appreciate is our early quilters did everything by hand. They cut those fabrics by hand, and they pieced them, and they quilted them. And if you look at a lot of those quilts, they look precise. They look like works of art. Today we're fortunate, us modern quilters have all kinds of resources. We have machines that will piece and will quilt for us. We have rulers, we have cutters to give us precise piecing. And while we can still make some of the patterns that our early ancestors made, it's just not the same to me. So when I'm looking at an antique quilt and I'm holding it in my hand, I'm thinking of that woman who made this work of art. She made it by hand. She made it during maybe troubled depression times when she was still taking care of a family and cleaning a house, and she still found time to make this work of art.
Lenore, there are so many beautiful quilts here. You have them in different categories. Can you please tell me why they're in certain categories and what qualifies for a winner?
Okay, well, there are so many different categories because there are a lot of different techniques that quilters use. So by breaking them down into categories, we have an opportunity to classify them and judge them based on the specific techniques. We have hand quilting. We have a beautiful quilt that is hand quilted, and it has won the blue ribbon. And if you look at it very closely, you'll see the stitches are very tiny and they're very even, and they're all consistent across the entire quilt. There are also some designs on the quilt that look like they're almost painted on. These are hand appliqued, and if you look closely, you don't see the stitches that are holding those pieces of fabric on. So that is truly a blue ribbon quilt. We have a lot of quilts that were also pieced and quilted by machine. Again, we're looking for the same skill. We're looking for nice, even seams. We're looking for consistency in the quilting. And we're just looking at the overall pattern. We have different sizes. Quilts are judged based on their technique, as I said, the hand or pieced or applique, and whether they're full bed quilts or wall hangings. We also have a category that's my favorite, and that would be the antique or collectible quilts, and those are two categories. So one thing I'd like to leave the viewers with is, what do you do with these older quilts when you find them? They're so fragile. Most of them were made from cotton, which is a natural fiber, and it will disintegrate. If you're fortunate enough to have one of these quilts in your possession, whether it's a family heirloom or it's something that you purchased, take care of it. Don't expose it to direct sunlight. Don't expose it to long periods of indoor lighting. If it is exposed to light periodically, make sure you pick it up, you refold it, you turn it over so that the sun doesn't continue to beam down on the same parts of the quilt. Try not to handle it a lot because we have oils in our hands, and that is the same for new quilts as well. The oils in our hands can break down the fibers in the quilt. But the most important thing is, if you have one of these older quilts, just love it and cherish it. And there is a saying, when you sleep under a handmade quilt, you're sleeping under a quilt of love.
Thank you, Lenore. That was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Down the Road is brought to you in part by Prince Agra, makers of Omnigen AF, advancing animal nutrition for healthy animals, and Woodruff Enterprise of Springfield, Ohio,